It is podcasting time. Here we go. Glenn Power is here from PowerWorks Garage. I'm James Piecowye. I don't know how you're listening to us. You could be on Spotify. You could be on Google. You could be sitting in your car on 100.3 Talk Radio in Dubai listening. However you're here, welcome. Great to have you with us. And for the next little bit, we're going to be talking about cars. We're going to be talking about car repair. We're going to make sure that you're in the frame of mind to not get ripped off next time you go and get your car serviced, or you're just talking about cars, because while they're everywhere around us, they're in a sense a mystery zone, and a lot of people get taken for a ride. So that's what we do. We talk cars.
Yep, we do. We do. We try not to scare too many people away.
No,
unless we're trying to convince them not to buy an EV. But you know,
oh man. It's, and this is the thing with EVs. I know that there will be people right now listening to us, wherever you are, going, I love my EV. And I got a colleague that loves his EV. And he says, this is the best thing I've ever owned. And yes, there is some challenges in the heat with battery life, but I love my EV. And I'm kind of going, okay, all right, good on you.
Yeah. Well, I've driven them. We get them in the garage, and they are nice to drive. There's a calmness and a peace about them, on a busy morning commute, and you haven't got engine noise, and they are very quiet.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that there's no engine noise to dampen out any other issues, they do seem to be a lot more soundproof, because you don't want to be hearing the tire noise and everything else and the rattles and the creaks. So they are very calm and serene places to be usually. But they just, you get in one and I was talking to my friend in the gym yesterday, and he said to me he'd been in a plaid Tesla. And he came over to me, he said, I went in one of those. He said, have you been in one? I was like, yeah. He said, why are they that fast? They don't need to be that fast. I'm like, well, it is the special edition, and it's the speed and the torque is just a side effect. It's just a coincidence. It's not that the plaid is an exception, but it wasn't necessarily that, we'll make electric vehicles so that we can make cars accelerate faster than internal combustion. That wasn't the reason for it, but it's a happy coincidence, I suppose. But I've kind of gotten over that now. That speed thing doesn't really, how many times can you go on a roller coaster and really enjoy it? But when you're driving the roller coaster and, it's like the van for a little while, there was a little leak on the exhaust because the flexible joint had broken. What it's like. We own 2 garages. We ain't got time to fix our own stuff. That's just how it is. But for that little time of driving it with a little bit of a rumbly exhaust, it was fun.
It's nice,
and it was a van, but it was, and you sort of, that's a nice thing, but there is no real feedback on an electric vehicle. You talk about internal combustion cars, and people complain about 911s, which is supposed to be an ultimate driver's car, but they're all, you get a 911 and it's got a PDK gearbox in it, there's no manual. And drivers are complaining about that, and complaining about electric steering racks, so they don't feel that there's any positive connection between the driver's hands and the road wheels. But when everything's electric, it becomes even more sterile, if you like.
I've got a colleague who does not drive a Tesla, but he drives a Rivian. Rivian. Drives a Rivian. Looks really sweet. Now, here's the thing. Clearly, he likes his electric car, but 9 times out of 10, when he shows up at work, he's driving his Infiniti Q80. As he calls it, the bus. He's not driving the electric car. What's that tell you?
Yeah. Forgot to charge it last night.
Forgot to charge it, or he just likes the bus. It's a ride. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's as simple as we talked about the whole fact that people will have the anxiety between, the range that they can or can't do. People will have the whole anxiety of, I'm going to go here, but can I charge it while I'm there? And what if I plan on that and get there and there's no charger? And then can I really make it home? And we got caught out with it when we had the electric vehicle, and maybe you do get used to it, you know.
I don't think you ever get
But
used to it.
I just don't. I just see less and less positives to them. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I understand the reason that that you know, the sort of genesis of them. I get it, and it was a necessary shift in consciousness of the motor industry. But you know, you just have to realize that people aren't necessarily stupid. You know, you can't just say to somebody, "Well, that's an electric car. There's no smoke coming out the back of it." You know, people understand that. All right, okay, fine, but where is the power coming from? You know, was it California that just did away with nuclear power stations?
Maybe.
You know, and then California is a place where they have fantastic legislation. You know, with vehicle emissions and making it strict on emissions. You know, you look at air quality measurements of California and particularly LA in like the 70s and 80s, and then the air quality now. There's more cars on the road now, but the air quality is better.
Yeah.
You know, you can do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds in a lot of cars now. That was like unheard of. You know, that was the sort of benchmark that people were trying to get to for decades. That's quite common now, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds with internal combustion, and those cars are doing 4, 5, 6, 10 times the range on fuel economy, and they're polluting fractions of the amount that, you know, the cars of the 80s and 90s were. So, you know, that sort of legislation's great, but when you're charging an EV, like, you know, people know the power's coming from somewhere, and you watch documentaries, read articles, read books about where the precious metals and semi-precious metals and all these things come from. And I do think that people are starting to realize that
we're going to run out.
They're not cheap either, are they? These cars aren't cheap.
Here's an interesting when we talk about value. I did not know this, but BYD, which is a Chinese car brand that we see a lot here in Dubai, in the UAE, but BYD did not start off as a car manufacturer. They're a battery manufacturer, and that's their bread and butter, was making batteries. And then they decided, hey, let's have a go at Tesla. They can do it. We actually make batteries. Let's make a car. They're selling more cars than Tesla at this point.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, right, there's a lot of discussion that could be had by people that are more qualified to do it than me. But
give it a go. Give it a go.
If you take BYD as a Chinese manufacturer, and you take the regulations that they have to work within in their native country, and then you take Elon Musk, who's moved a lot of his operation to Texas, or is doing, because of state legislation being a lot easier.
He's finding a better state.
But still, go to Texas all you want, but there are a lot more stricter regulations there than there are for... Hello.
Is that me? Is that
Someone's trying to communicate.
I don't know. What's ringing. We hear it ringing.
It's going to be a fun edit for you, James.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know. It's got to be me. Keep talking.
But yeah, I think when there's absolutely no way that you can compare the ease of producing an electric vehicle in China to what it would be in the US, simply down to legislation. And for good or for bad, there are stricter rules in some countries than there are in others. But it doesn't necessarily make it an even playing field. So then and that's part of the reason that, you know, some of these Chinese vehicles are half the price of a more, let's say, traditional manufacturer. You know, and that's down to the fact that they don't pay the same kind of price, shall we say, when it comes to, well, you can only work so many hours a day. You can only you have to dispose of this way, and you have to pay this for this collection, and that it doesn't exist everywhere in the world. And you know, one thing I'm surprised by is that you don't hear about Indian vehicles.
No, and
that surprises me.
And I know in the EV market for scooters and motorcycles that it's big there. I am also surprised at this because I have started following the Indian car market a little bit more, just because they make some fun little compact and micro cars. And no one's talking about electricity there. And I don't know if it's because of how they're generating electricity. Electricity is expensive. Charging options, I don't know.
Maybe. But you'd think like such a huge domestic market,
You would think. And we know there's aspiration to get vehicles because we've seen things like the Nissan Sunny, a very India-centric design put in place. Great. But I don't know. Maybe, you know what, we've got a whole crew of folks who are from India listening right now. Welcome, all of you, by the way, again, especially if you're in your cars. We'd love to hear from you about the electric market back home and what you're learning, what you're hearing, what your family is saying, because we're clearly out of the loop on this.
Yeah, I mean, it just surprises me, like, obviously, that, Maruti, Suzuki, they're obviously quite big there. Tata Steel, they own Jaguar Land Rover, they make Tata buses, trucks, everything else. They do the small little economy cars as well, don't they?
They
I
do.
Can't remember the name.
We don't see too many of those here either, which is again, we're seeing loads of Chinese vehicles, but we're not seeing a load of the Indian vehicles.
Yeah.
And I would be tempted.
Well, look, if you would think that you would think, because of the similar discussion we've had about China, that they would be able to be produced at a price that puts them underneath the traditional sort of legacy brands. So maybe it's coming.
Maybe it's coming.
Maybe it's coming. Maybe it's one of those, or maybe that they think, well, the market's awash with the Chinese ones. We're going to go and do something else.
Well, you know what? We know we have a global audience. So our global audience and our Indian car manufacturers who are listening, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have a conversation. Get you on the program.
Yeah, definitely.
And have a chat. We had some rain a few weeks back.
Some. Ridiculous.
So, when it rains here, those of you who are not familiar with Dubai and it rains, those who are from Dubai, you know exactly what happens, or from the UAE. Don't let me be city specific, but from the UAE, there are some areas of our country that are low, and the road network can be low, and water pools, and it's quite the hazard. And if we get an excessive amount, and what happened for us a couple days in a row, so the saturation point was reached, and then it just pools. A friend had her driver driving their Mercedes, I don't know, 450 GLC kind of thing. I don't know what those things go for, but I'm thinking over 200,000 dirhams.
Easily, yeah.
Fully decked out as well. Guy hit a puddle, which must have been a small lake. And I'm thinking, how fast could this guy have been going? But he hit the puddle, totaled the car. Now, not physically totaled the car, because obviously stayed dry inside and it's all usable, but the electronics of the vehicle gone, like finished. They said it's a throwaway. Went to the insurance company and they said, yeah, you're not covered for this. This car's written off and you're getting nothing for it. That's what I said. I said, oh, come on. And she said, no, whole electrical system done in. And I'm thinking, really, Ellie? And then I started thinking, well, okay, could have been a small lake the person went through, and nowhere for the water to go. Would have got up underneath the hood, under the bonnet. If it gets onto the electrical system, somehow gets in, which a huge quantity of water, that could happen.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, you've got absolutely no chance now. There's so many electronics on cars. Everything's controlled by a computer. Every computer is connected on a communication network. And like we've just mentioned at the start, you've got electric steering. And that's right down at the bottom.
Yeah, I forget about that. A lot of it's fly-by-wire, isn't it? I mean, it's So that gets taken out. Multiple systems start to fail, and then I thought, okay, hit the puddle, forget the electronics. It must have sucked in some water into the engine as well.
That's another. It's absolutely wild to me when you see people doing that. It's crazy. And the kind of cars that you see abandoned in water, and you think, why are we even trying to get that through there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous to think that. Still now, people, but then how often does it happen? We get rain twice, 3 times a year, and it floods 1 or 2 of those times.
Yeah,
people just kind of obviously must forget, or they're new to the country and they don't realise
I
they
don't
haven't
know.
had to deal with it in their own country. I don't know.
I don't know what's happened in a few areas because we were over by Safa Park. So if you're thinking Dubai, this is old Dubai, but there's a lot of new building going on. Safa Park is, kind of in the middle off Sheikh Zayed Road, main drag, right by the creek, the new creek that's been built, the canal system. And I've never seen so much water and deep water. Funniest thing happens. So I pass a guy, and I'm not going fast because I'm in the Jeep, and the last thing I need is, at least it's high, but I don't need anything going wrong here. And 2008 year model, rubbers, things, there's potential. So I'm driving very nice, not too fast, a little bit deeper water, but all is good. Past this guy who and a Ford Raptor pickup truck, who I don't think took too kindly to the Jeep passing him. So he gets over onto the right hand side where it's like waist deep water, and he's driving like crazy. My son's with us. He's in the back seat. He sees the guy coming, and he's going, "Oh, this is going to be good." Wife's got the window open on her side of the car. He drives by. The wake comes right through the window.
Nice.
I mean, not just a little water off of those big knobby tires on a Ford Raptor. It was hilarious.
They've done you.
It was hilarious.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's. I mean. What can you do? What can you even say?
And because I drive a Wrangler without windows, so I'm always cleaning the inside windows. The fact that there was all this water inside, it was kind of like, well, there we go, done.
I mean, again, that's another one that people also don't think about when they're driving through water. That the car coming at you from the other way, or you going towards that car, you're going to create a wave, and the problem is people get in the water, and obviously, if you stop, you want to keep your momentum going because it's going to be quite hard to push. Cars are not aerodynamic for getting out of water.
No.
They're not built for that. They don't have a pointed front. So getting going in deep water, especially if it's up over the bumper or over the halfway up over the wheels, you're going to struggle. So you keep your momentum going, but you're creating sort of bow waves from the direction you're going, and it can be an issue that you're going slow enough to keep your air filter and everything else out of the water, but the car coming the other way is going to force a load of water up the side of your car and up the front of it, and you suck a little bit of water in through your air intake, and you're in a big problem very quickly.
It's like, beware. And I think, generally speaking, cars are designed for driving in rain, but they're not designed for the most part driving through puddles, deep puddles. I mean, you hit puddles, you hit things, but it's not it's all surface water. And you've got the plates underneath, so the water that you're getting off the road that's coming off the wheels and it's going on things, that's fine. But you start hitting big puddles and water going in, slow down.
A lot of your components on your car are not designed to be submerged.
Yeah, there we go.
You go through a puddle with a red hot exhaust and it goes into a load of cold water. That's not good.
Yeah.
You sit in deep water to the point where it's up over the front of the bumper. You potentially have an AC system running that has a fan running on the front that the fan can't turn through the water, or if it does, it's then blowing water all over your engine.
Yeah, and then you wonder why it's misfiring, or something stops working, or the fuse box is now shorted out. It's like, we the amount of cars that we got in after the rain, you lift the bonnet up and the sound insulation and the heat insulation off the top of the bonnet on the inside just ripping, and it's because the fan has blown water. Yeah. And they've been deep enough that the fans had to blow through the water, and it's blown water come
all
on,
over.
people.
It's not good.
You gotta use common sense, please. We'll get more rain here. People get rain everywhere they're going. Just common sense with those puddles.
Well, they knew to come in. The government told that all public sector workers to stay home.
Yeah,
because the roads weren't going to be safe. Yeah, much better.
Exactly. Much better. I was kind of laughing because one of the days to stay home, it was perfectly sunny. Yeah, but go out on the roads.
Yeah.
It's like,
it stopped raining by that point. But it was the damage was done.
Getting around and the pooling and so it was the reverse of a snow day. It was a rain day.
Yeah. Although the one negative to the whole thing was that we used to get the signs above the road warning you of water ponds.
Yeah.
They've changed it now. It just said water accumulation.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed at that.
Disappointed in that.
Ponds
was a good word. Short, easy to read, concise.
And it really did describe what it was.
Exactly right, yeah.
I don't know why they've changed that. Again, we're really asking a lot of everyone who's participating with us. But if you have any idea what's going on with that, please do let us know.
Yeah.
So,
I was sort of we were maybe 3 days we were struggling here with being flooded. It was about 3 days. We didn't really have any issues with the roof. A couple of little drips through here and there, which happens every time. But good luck trying to get the landlord to sort that out.
Yeah.
And then how do you find a leak? 'Cause it stopped raining by the time I could look at it. So just pinholes in corrugated sheets. So it was all right. We didn't have any. I don't think any of our customers had any disasters this time.
That's good.
I don't think
they've learned. They're listening to the podcast.
Yeah, I don't think we had any disasters this time. We had. I had a bit of a problem in the van when I was driving down the road. Obviously, something had been washed into the middle of the road, and I went over it, and it bent the wheel. And then as the wheel came in,
how fast were you going?
Maybe 25, 30.
And you bent the wheel.
I don't know what it was. It must have whether
concrete.
It was a pothole that had
before.
washed, maybe a pothole had washed something away, or I don't know. But just driving down the road and it just bumped, and I didn't really. It wasn't that bad. It must have caught it right on the edge of the rim, and then as the tire was coming out of the water, you could hear it hissing and bubbling as the air was leaking out. So that came over. Luckily, I was only down the road.
Lesson to everyone: when you're in your vehicles and you're on the highway and someone's had a blowout, there's debris, there's rocks, there's a piece of wood. You're as much as your wheels and tires take a beating.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much if they're hit in the right spot to fail you.
No.
And keep your eyes and ears on that, because especially if you're going through something where you can't see, like a muddy puddle, you don't know what's in there.
No,
and away you go.
That was it, right? And there was so much water in it, and it was moving water. It wasn't just acute. It had been like rushing, wasn't it? It was running, like, and it moved stuff around. So it was. That was probably the only real issue that we had. We hadn't had any other horror stories this time, which is good. Which, like you say, people are listening to what we tell them. Yeah.
Common sense prevails. Common sense. Use common sense.
Yeah. It's not that common.
I had a question that was lingering in the mind about I've had motors for windows and things that have packed it in over the years, and I wondered, in your sense, if you found the longevity of those window motors is increasing or decreasing, or is about the same. And then as I come in, I see you've got a Golf sitting out here with the door off, the door panel off, and I don't know what they're working on, but I can see the motor there.
Yeah. The biggest enemy to window motors is the dust, really.
Yeah.
That they operate pretty well, but the dust gets in and it gets into the grease that attaches onto the gears, and the gears, for a lot of reasons, cost, weight, sound, everything, they're nylon.
So they're going to fail.
Yeah. So they get hot. They get a lot of dust stuck into the grease that's on them to lubricate them, and they just break and fail. Now that's got the door skin off because the door lock isn't working.
Oh,
it's just one of those things. It's failed. I mean,
I don't lock my car. So
the car's 15 years old now. So it's
fine shape though for a 15-year-old vehicle.
Nice. We've redone the engine on it, redone the gearbox on it. It's going to go and get painted hopefully next week when the door locks are sorted out. We've redone all the interior on it, and then I'm going to end up letting Amy drive it.
Yeah, wonderful.
So hopefully it gets done in the next few weeks. Yeah.
I think my wife is coming around when it comes to vehicles. She's coming around to a manual transmission.
Yes. This is the future.
She's actually looking at him too. We're looking at, it's funny. This is the most hilarious thing Imtishan and Brown Car Guy, who I also know are avid listeners to this podcast. And if you're not listening to Brown Car Guy out of London, you need to be listening to Shazad and watching and reading with this.
Yeah, go and buy his book.
Yeah. The consummate moto journalist or auto journalist or mobility journalist. That's it. Mobility. It's the mobility show in Japan. So he's the mobility journalist. And so the wife is keeping her eye out on vehicles and things. And everyone we talked to back in Canada, because we're thinking it might be time to get a vehicle at some point. And everyone we talk about back in Canada knows that we drive Wranglers here. And everyone's saying, so if you do at some point decide to get a vehicle back in Canada, what are you looking at? It's like, is there, and it's like, there's lots of great vehicles. You look around, and it's like, yeah. And it's like, yeah, but got to be a Wrangler.
Yeah. Diesel Wrangler.
Manual transmission. I keep saying manual transmission.
Yeah. Get the manual.
And as I said, my wife was at first going, really? We don't have a manual here. And then started like, yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, the manual would be good, yeah. Especially when it's proper snowy.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I've had so many battery issues. This would solve some of those battery issues.
Get yourself pump started in the morning. Yeah.
It'd be great.
There's a freedom to that.
Yeah.
It's quite liberating.
Yeah.
The amount of times that I've sort of put the van fails on the battery, it's like, all right, well, I can push it.
Yeah.
Push it and get it going at least and get to where I'm going. It's no big deal.
Also, can be pretty sure the son won't be driving it then because he doesn't drive a manual transmission.
Yeah, see, that's it. Everyone get the kids to learn in an auto, then buy a manual.
Yeah, exactly. Can I borrow your car? Yeah, sure.
Oh, see your license, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. Yeah, manual's the way it's at. Manual's the way forward.
Yeah. I was looking through Motor Trend, and what caught my eye was an old-looking car. And I thought, oh man, everyone likes an old-looking car, and then an old car. And then I realized it's a new car that looks old, and I just went, "This is the Volvo P1800 Cayenne GT."
Catchy.
Yeah, say that 5 times. It's like, Volvo. What are these guys thinking? What are the Swedes thinking? Like, that's no way to anyway. But this is, a concept car that looks like it's going to be happening, and it looks phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really what this is sort of the last positive. I'm not sure whether this is going to be electric or not, but this is the last. This is going to be an internal combustion.
But I think it's internal combustion.
This is the last positive of the whole EV thing, is that it meant that you could resurrect classics and make them safer and less polluting by putting motors in them, and it's. This, as we said, is probably going to be internal combustion. Just looking at the pictures of it, it's a gear lever. 350
to 420 horsepower, 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Yeah, 5-speed Hollinger gearbox. Oh, this would be fun to drive.
Yeah,
and I just think, and I've said this a lot of times, and I really love the first Honda Civics that came out. They were like a Mini. And I'm pretty sure that Honda. I mean, I'm just assuming here, but they kind of looked at the Mini, and they went, "We can do that." And that first Civic looked like it was. It even had the small tires like a Mini.
Yeah,
we're ripe for them to bring that back. Forget about a new version of it. Just bring back the old one with new components and all your new technology.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but it looks old. And you know what? People like me. You're going to have a group of people who are going to buy it. It's going to be fairly economical. Why wouldn't anyone want one?
Yeah, I mean, one of the major reasons for it is you can't get 465 airbags into a Mini. You have to have in a car.
Problem. That is a problem.
There's nowhere for them to put the ABS, and there's nowhere for them to put the control unit for the windows, and there's nowhere to put the lane change assist and cruise control, and
it's bare bones.
Keyless entry.
Armstrong windows, no electrics. This is. So it's got to be up to snuff on standards, but you don't need all the electronics.
I think there's a generation of people who, maybe like yourself, James, whose children are grown up, so they don't need to worry about having a family-sized vehicle or a practical vehicle.
Yeah.
That would potentially be able to say, well, I ain't got school fees to pay anymore. I don't need a big car. If Citroen bring a 2CV out again, I would buy one. If Mini do a Mini, if Volkswagen do a Beetle, Well, no, Volkswagen, because they've embraced the electric world. And they've got their whole new line of pickup trucks and SUVs under the Scout brand that are going to be coming out, which, again, who doesn't want to have a nostalgia,
Scout? Who doesn't want to have a Scout?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. This is maybe what it is. Like, my kids wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Your kids might not even care.
Yeah, I don't think they care. My kids, it's...
what's a Scout? Rubbish.
Yeah.
That's one of those old cars that when we were kids we used to see on the road and thought, "What's that banger?"
Yeah.
You know
what? You watch animal. There's a show out on Netflix called Animal Kingdom. It is not David Attenborough. It's not that one. So your kids don't want to watch this.
Right.
But the guys in Animal Kingdom filmed it. I think it takes place in like San Diego on the beach. One of them drives a Scout, and you see it. And we're talking old school internal combustion engine, but you see that guy with a surfboard hanging out the back, and all you're thinking is, that thing gets terrible gas mileage, I'm sure, but I want one. Just
yeah. That's
like an old Willie Jeep is basically what it makes
Jeep's
you think
another
of.
one. The old classic shape Jeep. People would that there are a generation of people that sat in the back of their dad's, or typically in them days it was your dad's car, but your parents' car. And they would buy the equivalent of one now.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't call myself a particular fan of Fords, but Fords were quite iconic. Certain Fords, especially in the UK. I remember my dad getting a Sierra, being in the back of it and being amazed by the green dashboard lighting on it. And it wasn't a brand new car. My granddad bought it. It was second hand, but if somebody, whenever I see one now, I instantly get the same memories flooding back of when my dad had it. And I remember, when we had my little sister, when she came into the world, and we then no longer could fit in a 5-seat car, so he had to get rid of it. And I know he was gutted, right? So and there's a generation of people that would go for that retro, and think of the money you save on design.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You've already got them. And I keep thinking, going back to the Honda Civic, you think Honda threw away those dies? No, they got a warehouse full of the main die to make new dies.
Yeah.
That's all there.
Yeah.
That's all ready to go. Come on, guys.
Talking about car design, something that I found really funny. I'm trying to find the quote now, but so we were complimenting the Range Rover, right?
Yes.
The look of the new Range Rover.
Oh, yeah, I still like that.
Really nice car, right? Well, somebody made a mistake with one. No, I saw yesterday. They matte blacked it, which is normally okay, but because the lights are smooth to the body, but they're gloss, just didn't look right. But anyway, so
I guess it wouldn't look right because it would stand out.
Yeah, it just didn't look right.
Yeah.
You lost that.
It looks
smooth finish. Where you can't see where the lights are. Now you can see where they are.
I think that's the thing about that new Range Rover. It is just everything is so flush and matches up. And when you look at the lines from the door handles to the signal lights to the finish on the wheel wells, everything lines up. Again, it's aesthetic. Like someone has the intern did not work on that vehicle. They put the intern standing back. Don't even get close.
Yeah,
we're putting the real engineers on this one.
Yeah,
and it's amazing looking.
That's right.
And I'm not usually a Range Rover.
No, I agree.
I don't extol a lot
this
of.
One is,
it's
this one. They've actually got, with the exception of, I know you like them. For me, the cabriolet versions of them, but the exception of those, pretty much every Jaguar Land Rover product at the minute is
the cabriolet version of the Evoque is the only Evoque I like.
Yeah, I don't really like any of them, to be honest.
I'm not a fan either. And I did once have one of the designers on. This is back in the day. One of the designers of that vehicle on a show. And I was talking about how it's just the ugliest thing I've ever seen. He says, "Good thing we don't listen to your advice because it's our best seller." Well, there you go.
Right?
There you go.
Yeah.
But the cabriolet version, when I see that thing with the roof off, it's like, I would own one in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Well, so on the point of design, Jaguar Land Rover, the quote made me laugh, and I'll read the quote. But Massimo Fraschella, I don't know how you pronounce it. He was the Jaguar Land Rover head of design. Audi have taken him, and he made a quote when they did the press release or whatever you'd have to do, saying that it was all about simplicity as a key pillar of his approach to car design, and he was passionate. This is a quote: passionate about creating designs that are free from superfluous ornaments and do not merely follow trends. Basically, just absolutely destroying Audi for what they've been doing with LED lights all over the front of the cars for years, and massive grills and this, that, and the other. So, will it be interesting to see that, because that Range Rover is it's huge. It's minimalist in design. It's it's basically, it's like it's the car equivalent of someone who's been in the gym all year and then the first sunny day the top's off.
Yeah.
Like it's just pure, just the bod. There's nothing on it.
Yeah.
You know, the logo's on it and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no sort of shiny light, bright lights here and
That's beautiful.
carbon fiber panels here or anything like that. There's no extra grills where they don't need them. There's no vents. There's no anything.
It's just beautiful.
It's just a pure, nice shape of a car. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Audis, especially something like the RS6s and the RS range in general, I guess, because they're so muscular looking because of their, I guess, race heritage and the fact that they want them to look. They are still quite understated when you say, you look at an RS6 that's got 600 plus horsepower and it's quite understated compared to a Lamborghini. But, I wonder what he's going to do with them. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Audi. But big changes there because they're quite different. Audis and Jaguars and Land Rovers are very different.
How he's going to be able to get his signature onto these things. I'm looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that. The 2018 Cadillac ATS V sedan, once owned by President Joe Biden when he was vice president, is up for, it's been sold. And apparently this thing is...
Is there any secret classified documents in it?
Yeah, in the trunk. In the trunk. Apparently it's quite a nice ride. It was one of a kind in how they decked it out and how they produced it. Of course it's black, and
those V Cadillacs though are nice.
And they said this thing it's sweet. It's a sweet drive.
Yeah, and there's an Escalade V that went past me the other day. It had all gloss black accents on it and big stupid exhaust on it and everything, but it was nice. Yeah, really nice.
And I always like those caddies because they just had that. It's a weird shape. It wasn't rounded. It wasn't squared off. It was. It just wanted to be a transformer. It's like,
that's it, right? How many times have we said cars all look the same now?
Yeah, and that one didn't. Nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's still one of the sort of fun vehicles we get in is when there's a couple of customers with the CTS-Vs, and they're so unique in styling, and they just...
It's a Cadillac.
Sound like trouble. Yeah. It's like a bad guy's car off the movie, right?
It's a Caddy.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. There's still something about a Cadillac.
Yeah.
That and of course a Lincoln Town Car. And if you're there's a scene, I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to look for it and send it to you. If you're not watching Mayor of Kingstown,
you told me about this before.
You got to watch it. And just because Mike McCluskey, if you're having a bad day, Mike McCluskey's having a worse day. Mike McCluskey's Jeremy Renner. His day is always worse. There's a scene in, I think, the first episode where he drives this Lincoln Town Car up over the curb, over the grass, through a fence, then gets out and does his business, and then he backs the thing out also at full speed off the curb, and then just drives away. And I just go, because the Lincoln Town Car is an everyman's car.
Yeah.
And every time I see that, and I just say to the wife, I said, yeah, Wrangler and a Lincoln Town Car. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And you can see the way it's going over the curb. Like, this thing is not a European suspension. This is a plush mobile. Like, no bump. You probably didn't even feel the curb going over it.
No.
It's like...
No, there's no pothole going to make you feel it.
No.
Yeah. I mean, good luck going around a corner more than 30 miles an hour. But who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no corners on the roads.
You're in no rush.
Yeah.
You're driving a Lincoln.
Yeah.
You're in it for the ride.
Yeah. You sort of that's been lost, hasn't it? You don't really get that now.
No,
you don't really get it because, and again, ABS and traction control wouldn't work as well with wallowy suspension like that.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't. Yeah. It just wouldn't work.
We were talking about technology in vehicles as we kicked off our conversation, and I saw a piece on NBC News out of the U.S. 50,000 Toyotas warning to 50,000 Toyota owners of Corollas from 2003, 2004, 2005. There's RAV4s in there too. Do not drive. It says it's not just go get it fixed. It's do not drive. There is a potential error with the airbag. And this is not a go get fixed. It's a do not drive advisory. And I'm going, part of that's technology because airbags are a wonderful piece of technology and there's a lot to go with it. But when you get 50,000 vehicles, and that's just there, how many of those are here using this? Yeah. And it's, this is a long-standing issue across dealers. It's a particular brand of airbag.
Takata, is it?
Yeah. And I can't imagine anyone's using those airbags anymore because why would a car manufacturer want to use Takata airbags when you've got a 50,000 do not drive order on them?
I have a problem with this, and the problem is that these cars are 20 years old.
Yeah.
Which means they're probably 21 years in manufacturing age.
Yep.
And why is it taking 20 years? I'm sorry, but there's got to be a threshold for you to say there's something dangerous, and I think it's probably maybe 3 identical incidents. It might be 2.
Yeah.
There's always going to be isolated failures. Of course there is. But we're talking about a Corolla as well. There's millions of those things being sold.
30 deaths worldwide, 26 in the U.S., hundreds of injuries in various automaker vehicles since 2009.
See, so what's been happening?
Are linked to the Takata airbags. Are they and it's the airbag inflators that can explode.
Yeah, they're the one. The igniter is the dangerous part of the airbag.
Unleashing
That's the
metal shrapnel inside the car and truck. And I'm thinking, does this company even still make airbags? Because
possibly, because even if you take that as these things have been recorded and monitored since 2009, how many has it taken from 2009 to now?
Yeah.
To say, right, we need to recall that. I don't understand.
67 million airbag inflators have been recalled in the U.S., 100 million inflators worldwide, and the biggest safety callback in history.
Right. And you know what? You can't even... There is no way to do away with an airbag now.
No.
And you can't even say, okay, well, let's say, take your most cynical conspiracy theorist, right, that says, oh, well, this is just a way to get us all into autonomous cars so that we don't have to need airbags because there'll be no accidents. There ain't no way I'm getting into an autonomous car without an airbag.
Yeah. No, for sure.
That'd be ridiculous. There's even more need, I think, in an autonomous vehicle for an airbag than there is
absolutely
when you're driving yourself. So, and it's just 100 million.
I can't even fathom that number.
100 million, even if they only cost $5 each.
Yeah. I know. It just, wow. And this is, I think a piece of this, and the piece of this mentality goes back to the way we live now with phones and with other devices. You'll see where this is going in a second. In that, we're so used to get something out there, we'll modify, we'll fix, we'll repair it on the way, but we got to get it out.
Yeah.
And you're driving around in a car, you can't have that happening. It's got to be 100% ready to go, no questions asked from day one. And and then, as you said, there's the threshold. How many deaths, how many serious injuries before we say there's an issue? Well, you can put a number on it until it's one of your family, and then
exactly.
Then it's 0 is the count. It's like we get 1, we got a problem.
Yeah.
So this is that whole ethical, moral, business dilemma.
Yeah, I forget which Audi it was. I think it was the 100. It was an Audi in the US. They had the whole unintended acceleration issue.
Oh, I remember that.
But it wasn't the car's problem. It was the driver error.
Yeah, foot down.
Just basically they got the foot down without, so basically that led to the advent of the lock, so that you had to have the ignition on foot and the brake before you could move the gear lever on an automatic.
I wondered how that happened.
So that's what caused it, basically. But that was...
Well, you know where that having foot on the gas comes from. It comes from carburetor engines, where you
got to give it a bit before
pumping the gas. You'd be giving the gas, and someone might have
This was the 80s, I think.
Yeah, so there we go. I always remember, pump the gas 3 times, then start.
Yeah, give it a bit to get it going.
And then you'd flood it.
Yeah. Then you start again. Yeah, spark plugs out, let them dry. Yeah, but that so people were starting the car with it in drive.
Yeah,
or they were they were able to, and then they were accelerating or accidentally pressing the accelerator, and it was moving, which it shouldn't have, because the driver didn't think that if it was in drive and they pressed the accelerator move, they didn't know it was in drive because they didn't, there was just, but that got sorted and something happened on it. But how many times these airbag recalls are once a year?
Yeah.
100 million in one. I mean, what's that? It's,
and then, forget the fact that the airbag company's probably getting dragged over the coals, but Toyota, Chrysler, whoever's using these, it's Stellantis now, right? And Ford, and the list goes on. I think every car uses these airbags.
Yeah.
The cost that they've got to incur, because now they got to bring them in.
And it's Toyota that this looks bad on.
Oh, it's horrible.
When you see Toyota recall airbags because of a fault with manufacturing company Takata, no one knows who Takata are. Everyone knows who Toyota are.
Yeah.
Toyota had the same issue with the acceleration, actually, with the cars getting stuck accelerating on the road, and it was down to the clips on the pedal braking, right?
Right.
Toyota didn't make that. They fitted it on their car, and it's Toyota that get remembered for it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. So but then with an airbag, you don't know. The only way to test it is to destroy it.
Exactly.
What are they supposed to do? Test 100 million airbags.
That's the problem, isn't it?
And it was the economy side of it. And
maybe they need to change the testing in factory. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, someone's obviously is working through this, but what a mess.
Yeah,
and think about the used car market. If you're even thinking about buying a used car, you're going to buy an old car you're going to think twice.
Yeah,
you're going to be asked, and I think that has to be a question: who's the airbag manufacturer on this machine?
Yeah,
because I don't want to be caught in that mess.
Yeah, I think the last big one was a Honda recall, wasn't it? Honda recall for a similar issue with the airbags. Yeah. And the thing with this is that the whole sort of anecdotal conversation with your mates in the over a drink or whatever it might be is, Toyota, Japanese cars are the reliable ones.
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks.
Toyotas, Hondas, Mitsubishis. That's the sort of typical anecdotal conversation that people that may or may not know about cars would have. And they keep doing these big recall. And look, the one thing that I have to say from the repair side of it is, well done Toyota for finding it out and calling it back
and putting it out there. I mean, they've taken that. It's taken them a while, and they've obviously reached a threshold. But it's still, they've splashed this out. Yeah. They're telling everyone it's in. Yeah. It's in the major news.
I'm
networks.
Not saying that manufacturers would cover it up. But
no, never. We never suggest that. But actively advertising it, and part of it's safety. But you got to know that the integrated strategic communication people are doing crisis management on that.
Yeah.
Because this is, what's the blip on the bottom line that's going to happen with this?
Yeah, this is a North American story.
Yeah. What percentage are we looking at? 5% dip? 6%? 10% dip? No percent dip?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 50,000 vehicle owners in the US. I mean,
again, you know what they're going to do? I've got the perfect ad if you want to have some fun with it. Is you get all the CEOs of all the people, all the upper administration of Toyota, sunglasses on, and you get Shaggy and the other dude who's singing that wasn't me. What happened on the production line? Was me. Happened on it? Was me.
I mean,
happened over breakfast? Was me.
There's some money to be made for Shaggy there.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure Shaggy and Toyota have the same. They're not quite synergy. But what I want to see is Stellantis or Ford or GM make an advert saying our airbags save lives, don't kill people.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Just go for it.
Let's have some old school hard.
Go hard. Yeah, Go hard on this, guys.
Go for it. Go in and
this is a cage match. No holds barred. Yeah. This is an opportunity.
Have some pride in your own product and say, well,
Richard Branson would.
100%. This would have 20 years ago. That would have happened.
Yeah.
20 years ago, you'd have those. I can remember when was it It was either the BMW executive or the Mercedes executive that had been at whichever company it was for 30, 40 years and had been absolutely renowned for success at that company. And then the opposite of which I think it was the BMW, I think it was the Mercedes executive left Mercedes. BMW brought an advert out with a lookalike of this guy. He was quite well known in Germany.
I remember that. I remember those.
And then he shaking hands, saying thank you to everyone in Mercedes HQ. And then he goes home and opens his garage and there's a BMW in the drive. And it's like, so basically he's finally free to drive the car he's always wanted to.
Yeah.
do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. You know, because at the end of the day, if look at the trouble that they've had in America with there's talk about another strike with the UAW.
Oh, I know.
Right? 9,000 workers. Well,
no money.
Get people buying the cars then.
Yeah.
So that they can, you know, all these Toyotas that you're selling in, these 50,000 Toyotas that have been recalled, they could have been 50,000 General Motors.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Glenn, it's time to turn off the podcast. It's been a lot of fun, as always. Glenn Power, PowerWorks Garage, if you want to know, and come in and meet him. Come and have a chat. Come and have a chat with DJ and Glenn and the team. Always fun. However you're listening to us, however you're watching us, we do stream video as well, and you can find that on YouTube and Spotify. So I don't know how you're getting us, but great to have you along. Send in those questions. Send in those comments. You got something to correct, some addition to what we've been saying, send it in. If you're listening to 100.3, you know how to do that. Get involved there, or go on to any of the platforms where you're listening to us and find us. And you can find us by Googling the James Casts with an S, and you'll find us. That's where we live under that moniker. But you'll find us. Get involved. Get in touch. Become part of the program. Glenn, we'll do it all again real soon.
Thanks, James.